All right, everyone. Welcome back to the Freeman Focus Podcast. I'm your host, Mariano. For those of you who are new, my focus for this show is quite simple: to shine a light on community leaders, advocates, and everyday difference makers right here in our small towns. Before we jump in, I want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor, What the Snark. What the Snark is located in Wild Rose, Wisconsin, and they are a locally custom print shop and branding for specializing in custom apparel, hats, hoodies, decals, and branded gear for small businesses, organizations, and everything is designed and produced locally in Wild Rose. Now let's get into today's episode. Making his first appearance on the show, please welcome Officer Justin Malueg.
Hello, everybody. I am Officer Justin Malueg. I go by Officer Justin. Most of your viewers probably have seen me on Facebook or through social media and whatnot. But just a little bit about myself. For those that don't know me or don't know me very well. So I currently live in Waupaca. I have a beautiful wife, Abby. I have 2 kids with one on the way. Actually, I don't even know if I told you that.
I thought I saw something online potentially, but.
Yeah.
Congrats.
So I have an 11-year-old Jasmine, and then I have a 5-year-old Jalen. And like I said, one on the way. I have a black lab mixed named Emma, and then we have 2 cats, Juice Man and Coco, or Kokomo, like the kids call her. So that's a little bit about my family. Actually, if I turn it just a little bit, there we go. Oh,
I see that.
There we go.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm originally from the Caroline Marion area in Shawano County. I worked up there a little bit as an officer before coming down to Waupaca County. But ultimately, I became an officer in Waupaca and just absolutely fell in love with the area, with my team, with everybody that I worked with at the sheriff's office, and then the community members were just, next to amazing. So actually, I came down to Waupaca and ended up applying for a full-time job. Got offered that job. I ended up doing that for about 4.5, 5 years, and then I got hired with the sheriff's office in Waupaca. So that's kind of where that journey started. I mean, there's some part-time jobs mixed in there, and some other things that happened, but including raising a family and and whatnot. So a big family person. I was raised actually just by my mom, and then with help from my grandparents, my mom's parents. My dad was never really in the picture from the very beginning. So, my grandpa was my father figure. He helped raise me to who I've become today. And then my mom married Bob, my stepdad, and then he became my father figure as well. Yeah, so huge family man. Any chance I get, when I'm not at work, is spending time with family, spending time with the kids. The kids and the wife always get priority over all of my politics.
Free time.
All my stuff that I got going on. Like I said, outside of work and trying to make a living and everything. But and then my grandpa passed away a few years back, but my grandma still lives in Caroline, so we try to get up there and spend time with her as much as we can. And then I have a bunch of cousins and stuff that are like brothers and sisters, and pretty much all my close cousins are like aunts and uncles and brothers and sisters to me, really. So
right.
I get up there and spend time with them any chance I get, and they are simply amazing. That's putting it simply, because they've, especially my wife and kids, they've been through a few things already with the campaign going on and whatnot. I guess that kind of leads me into the next thing. I'm running for Waupaca County Sheriff this coming November,
awesome.
Which is
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's been quite the roller coaster ride. My goal is to keep everything completely positive, but I mean it's been quite a ride, and my family's been right there with me the entire time. And my wife, actually, she's been through some stuff with her mom. Her mom used to work at the sheriff's office. She retired. Okay. Actually, both parents did.
I did not know that. That's interesting.
Her dad was a deputy and then became detective sergeant, and he retired after 20-some years. And then her mom was a jailer and became a jail sergeant, and she was a jail sergeant. And her and me have so many similarities in regards to.
I was gonna say.
In regards to like some of the stuff we talked about off camera, the risking your life versus risking your livelihood type stuff, and always doing the right thing and having integrity. She is just a complete shining example. She had actually gone through some of her own stuff with the sheriff's office with some of the same administration,
Oh, wow.
where there was harassment and there was a bunch of negative stuff that happened. There was lawsuits and everything. So my wife has been through it. My wife's been through it with her mom and with her parents and everything that they had to put up with. So I'm blessed to be able to have her be so calm and patient and being able to help guide me through. There's certain times where, I get a little passionate, a little worked up about some stuff, and she'll be right there to wind me back down and be like, okay, like, think about it this way, honey.
It's good to not only have someone that's supportive, but to have someone that also has the same like alignment with, like you said, morals and integrity. Like those values, like you can't, yes, you can grow them and earn them as you go on in life, but if they're instilled to you early on, you just have such a smoother upbringing and a more of a just understanding of how life is. So
oh yeah, absolutely.
I'm happy for you that you had met. You said Amy is her name?
Abby.
What was her? Abby.
Yeah.
I'm happy that you met Abby, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, thanks, man. Appreciate that. You just brought up something that made me think of something. So when you say about your upbringing, I always say this. You hear the saying, nice guys finish last. You hear that quite often. And I'm kind of, not, I don't want to say living proof, but I've definitely experienced the wrath of that saying. And, I always joke around. I always say, I blame it on my mom. That's what I always say. And people will be like, what the hell are you talking about, Justin? And I'm like, I blame this whole situation with, everything that I've been through with, Waupaca and running for sheriff and stuff. I blame it on my mom. And they're like, what do you mean you blame it on your mom? And I'm like, she raised me with help of my grandparents to always do the right thing, always, speak up for what's right, or, the integrity side of things.
Absolutely.
Always be involved in your community, always help somebody, always kill people with kindness. They're the ones that raised me like that. I could be I could be like some cops or some people in general where you just treat people like numbers. You don't treat people like human beings. That's just not me. I could never do that. And even that kind of segues into another topic. But people ask me like, hey, would you ever be able to forgive people that have wronged you in your life? And that kind of narrows in on the sheriff's office and everything I've been through. And the quick answer is yes. That's just the way I've been raised. Like, as long as you can still work together and you can still do your job together and we can still be a strong team and care for one another and love each other. I mean, ultimately, you got to love people.
Say a prayer for them, Say a prayer for them and keep on going.
Exactly. And that's just the way I was raised. I mean, some people you ask that question to and they're like, hell no, like,
right.
After this person said this or did this about me, blah, 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 whatever. You'll never, some people you'll never even be able to bring up the word forgiveness alone, actually ask them to forgive people. And yeah, I don't know. I feel like that's the way I was raised. That's why I always joke, like, well, you can blame my mom for that.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing. Congrats to your mom for instilling those into you, man. Because, I mean, you can't look past wrong. Like you said, you're willing to risk your life, but not your livelihood. As our mutual friend Sam Wood had said recently in a podcast. I mean, it's, if you're going to do something, you can't half-ass it. You got to give it your all. And that's all, so down to your core, you have to stand behind everything that you say and everything that you're going to do. So, I'm glad to see that you're doing what's needing to be done. I know I got some questions here. We haven't really got into like the specifics of, why you're running for sheriff and, what's happening in Waupaca County. But I'll let you elaborate on some more of that. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that's really the foundation of everything that I do is doing right by people and being authentic and having that, authenticity to build that trust with people. Right. Trust is earned, and how do you do that? What better way of doing that than being authentic and being yourself? People can read right between the lines, and we were kind of talking about that earlier off camera, but people can read through that. You can tell when somebody's they're doing it for the wrong for an alternative reason, or the
intent is seen or felt.
Exactly. Yep. You can tell the intent is something that is not going to be positive. I feel like I've never been that type of person. I've always just been authentic. I've always been kind, always smiling. I can't help it sometimes. And I think people see that and they're like, yeah, like that's the type of person we want to be a leader in our community, someone like that. So I'm hoping that's how it plays out.
Absolutely. So, as far as you mentioned you're running for Waupaca County Sheriff, right? So what made you decide to run for Waupaca County Sheriff?
So The simple answer is, I guess, saying that it's something I've always wanted to do. I've always been a big leadership person. You could ask a lot of my past coworkers, whether it's law enforcement or not, being in that position to actually like lead people, change people's lives for the better, to actually be in that position of power to help people. You always hear about, when people are in a position of power, that almost sounds negative in a way, because people portray that to be so negative when you're in a position of power. But when you're in a position of power, for example, I consider myself being in a position of power right now. I'm a certified law enforcement officer. I'm working with a law enforcement agency. I work for Shiocton, which I don't think I mentioned in the beginning, but I work for Shiocton Police Department. I have, my Facebook page as Officer Justin. I consider that a position of power. And you could even argue that other jobs, security or, just, retail, any type of job, you could consider yourself having a position of power where you're able to help someone. Use that to your advantage to actually help someone for the good. I will never understand how, you get these sheriffs and these chiefs or just administrative, law enforcement positions where they're in a position to do so much good. They could be, instead of sitting in the office, every day, multiple hours a day, you could be out, advertising for different businesses, different community events, advocating for things that are going on within the county. Your victims, advocate for victims. We have CAP services, Department of Health and Human Services, Child Protective Service. There's so many different systems that are in place, programs that are in place to help people. Why not be a cheerleader for that? You know what I mean? So I would, to summarize, I would say, because I've always wanted to be in that position, but it goes deeper than that. It goes way deeper than that in regards to truly wanting to make the place better. You see me experience your whole life, my whole career pretty much, with the exception of some supervisors, but my whole career I went through having supervisors or, leaders who they weren't well-rounded. They're in that position, they got the title, but they're more of a manager, a supervisor rather than a leader. And I take all those little examples, to heart on, how I would change it, how I would do it if I was in that position. I remember back in, not to name drop any departments here, but I remember when I worked for a previous department of mine, I remember thinking, man, if I was in that position and I talked to one of my employees like that, I would take myself, out back with a shovel. And you know what I mean? I don't understand how when you're in such a powerful position to lead your team, you would talk negative and undermine your people and make them feel like they're worthless, really.
Right.
So anyways, to summarize, those are the types of things that I take, I store away, and I want to make sure that it's done differently when I'm in that position of power.
Now, coming from a citizen standpoint, I think those are the right reasons to want to become sheriff, rather than I've wanted this since I was a kid, or I've always wanted to, you know what I'm saying? Like the dreamy stuff. You advocate for your community and you do it on a daily basis. You've been doing it, whether it's Waupaca or some of the other departments that you've worked with. You're trying to make that same difference. So I think that it's very important that it's a lot more than just what you want to do. If you want a job, you're going to apply for a job. If your job's a mutual friend of ours, Sam Wood, if you're going to put cheese on a fish sandwich, then just focus on getting that cheese on that sandwich the right way, and that's all you got to worry about. But when you're signing up, perfect, right? Perfect example. But when you're signing up and you're giving an oath, to serve and protect, to honor and uphold the Constitution and the laws, I think that there has to be that in depth, so much more than that. So I'm really happy that you're finding this passion and this calling, and you're answering it the right way at the right time too.
Absolutely, it's got to come from here. And this is the best way I can summarize it. Ready? This is how I summarize it to people. When I first started this career, driving lights and siren, that was exciting. That I got my kicks off of it. You know what I mean? Pulling people over, arresting people, that was exciting. Taking people to the jail, putting them in handcuffs, all the stuff that as a new cop straight out of the academy is exciting. And drives you. This is the type of stuff that drives me. The stuff that I had put on my social media, the community stuff. Today I went up to Peshtigo School District and did a presentation on the Gonzalez fatality a couple of years ago. That's the type of stuff that drives me. I tell my wife this pretty often, where I'm like, you know what, like, I'd be okay doing, even if I don't win sheriff, I'd be okay just doing this. Right. Part-time officer. I work for Attic Correctional, which is a monitoring program for sex offenders. So I travel all over the state monitoring and keeping tabs on them. I could do that and then still be involved in my community, be involved in the schools, give a voice to all these victims, the Gonzaleses and all these other cases that I talk about in regards to safety and highway safety and stuff like that. I'd be okay with that. That's truly what drives me. It makes me feel good. You know what I mean? Like, you get these, like you said, where you get these people, I've always wanted to do this, or, I worked my way up the ranks, I finally, this position was, I was next in line for this position. I'm next, I'm deserving of being the next chief type of thing. But then they never, the way they treat people and their actions don't match their words. You know what I mean? And they don't actually enjoy. You can tell right off the bat they don't enjoy being at work and they don't enjoy being around people. So why do you want to do it? Type of thing. Right. So yeah, I don't know a better way to explain other than it makes me feel good.
I love it. Great answer to why you want to become a sheriff for the Waupaca County. As far as if you are elected to be the sheriff, what would be your top 3 priorities in your first year? Like, what are some things you want to address?
Sure. First and foremost, treating people like people, taking care of your people, and instilling, that inspiration and that love for people. That comes first and foremost. Kind of goes with what we just talked about, where like you have to enjoy working with people. You have to love people. You don't have that with your own team. It's going to show. It's going to trickle down, and they're going to, they see it now. And yeah, you're going to continue to get the whole spiel throughout the election of these ones that want to drive a hard bargain of, well, this is the best leadership we've ever had, and this, that, and the other thing. And then, when I become sheriff and take office, these are going to be the same ones that are, it's so horrible here. We had it so good with Sheriff Wills. But I honestly think, long term, as the time goes on, when you actually have somebody that genuinely cares and wants to recognize you for doing good things, you get promoted based on merit and based on your skill set and how hard you work for the department, not just because you're friends with somebody.
Or you're next in line.
Yeah, you're next in line, or like Sam Wood would say, you're fishing buddies with someone with admin and with Shara, whatever, what have you. It's going to be different. It's going to be everybody. If you contribute to this team, no matter what it is, if your thing is you like to do investigations, or you like to do traffic, or you'd rather work in the jail, or you'd rather work in dispatch, what have you, you do a good job and you actually try to make a difference in someone's life, make the place better than when you leave from when you got there type of thing, then you're going to be treated the same. Regardless if you voted for me, regardless if you're one of the good old boys, the Wills and Company, I call them. That's my shorthand for the Good Old Boys Club, because that's exactly what it is. So regardless, you're going to be treated love, respect, dignity. You're going to be recognized. Not just during an election year when you know that you're going to be coming into an election in November, and all of a sudden now you start seeing all these posts on Facebook of, oh, this person's been there so many years and this person's been there so many years. We talked about being authentic. That's not authentic, and people can see right through that.
Right.
If you're
intentions.
Intentions. Amen, man. If you're not a good old boy, if you're not part of that Good Old Boys Club, you see right through that. And if anybody denies that, they're lying to themselves, because that is not authentic. You literally go back, if you really want to look into this and dive deep into this, just look back on Facebook, and look and see how many people have gotten recognized in the last 8 years for years of service, for life-saving awards, for, whatever, what have you, being involved in community events and stuff like that. When you're going into an election year, it's going to be, oh, big and beautiful. Right. Look at this. Look at my team. Oh, we're so happy together. Look at us. It's like a domestic violence relationship in a way, is how I always say it, because you're behind the scenes, nobody gets along, but then when you're out in public, it's like, oh, look at we love each other, type of thing.
Royal couple.
Not trying, and not poking fun at, because domestic violence is a real thing, and
right. I was a victim of it once. I know.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Same.
My wife went to jail for putting hands on me one time. And they tried to get me to give a statement. I'm like, I'm not gonna say anything that's gonna incriminate my wife, man. Come on. They're like, well, we don't need your statement. I mean, your marks and abrasions all over your face. We have to take the pictures. It's the state. At this point, I'm just like, whatever, man.
Oh, geez.
Winnebago County.
Sorry, man. Mine never got to be that serious. I definitely experienced narcissism and all those different things. All the things that go with domestic violence, right. Unfortunately, just not the actual physical violence part of it.
Right. But I didn't want to take away too much from the first question that I asked you.
Yeah,
so
sorry.
The top
Go
three,
ahead. Yeah, sorry.
No worries. So the top 3 priorities, your first one basically is community, right? So united we stand, divided we fall. You're going to make sure that everybody within the force is united. Everyone's on the same page. Everyone can trust the integrity and the moral values are all in alignment. And then community, making sure that your community feels that representation. That they know that you guys are there for them and that it's a working relationship.
Exactly. That's number 2, and those two are kind of interchangeable and the reason I say that is because, how can you be there for your community and truly care about your community if your team is not, is falling apart and they're not
correct.
They're not working good together. You know what I mean? So kind of interchangeable, but yeah, number 2 is definitely the actual community themselves. You probably can't see it behind me, but I have my posters behind me from the Meet the Fleet events that I created when I was at the sheriff's office. Those were huge. The only thing the sheriff's office had going on, which is amazing program, by the way, is Shop with the Cop. They did Shop with the Cop. I think it's been going on for like 10 or 11 years now. And
I like that program.
Yeah, amazing program. We did it down in Poynette. I mean, a lot of other departments do it. Columbia County Sheriff's Office does it.
I've been watching that. I see their posts.
Yeah.
I like the Culver's Christmas of Lights of Christmas too. I like that.
Yes, that's huge too. Yep. So Sheriff's Office, they're involved in that. But yeah, I mean, so with the exception of Shop with the Cop and a couple other things here and there, like they did the Special Olympics bike ride, or run, walk, bike ride, whatever it was called. But with the exception of those couple of things, there was never anything extra per se with the community. That's why even when I was back in Waupaca before I started for Waupaca County, we started doing movie nights. We started doing cones with a cop, Halloween parties, Easter egg hunts. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. I mean, we would help out with different events that the school was doing. We'd be part of downtown when downtown was doing events. We did Christmas lights right there's downtown Waupaca with over 100,000. Yeah, 100,000 Christmas lights, and we put on a show, for our community. That wasn't an I, dude. That wasn't a me. That wasn't a. It
was a we.
Officer Justin. That was a Waupaca PD. That was Waupaca PD. A team thing for the community. And side note, that's why you'll never. I shouldn't say never. I don't like to ever say never. You will rarely ever hear me say me. Myself. I. It's. Even when it's not technically we, I always say we because there is other people that are involved. Even if it was completely my idea, and I got the resources together and executed the idea, or whatever, there's still other people involved. It's still a team effort, and I want the community to know, like, hey, this was the Waupaca Police Department that did this. Well, anyways,
especially when the outcome is a we outcome.
Exactly. It's to make the police department look good, and that's what I with the sheriff's office in Waupaca with Meet the Fleet. I wanted everybody, including kids, our youth, to come out, meet all of our different first responders, law enforcement officers, the military. We had the helicopter land so they could meet paramedics from Theta Star. Cool. Everybody that you could think of. I included local businesses. I got dump trucks, excavators, skid steers, tractors, tow truck drivers, because that's what it's about. It's everybody working together and being there for each other and being there for the community. And
that is the community right there.
That was huge, dude. I mean, to this day, they still do it. Even after, I had left, they still do it. But man, there were so many people that were talking about that, sharing it on social media. That's what it's about. That right there is what it's about. And there's been other ideas circling back to my number 2 reason, being there for the community. Well, there's so many other things that you could do. There was one that I just saw that a department down in the valley, I believe, implemented. It was an idea that I actually brought up years ago that got shot down. Trading cards, like baseball cards. Every officer has their, has a cool
rookie
picture.
card.
Yeah. What's
Okay,
that?
yeah, I like that idea. Yeah, I like that.
Has a cool picture of them, looking like a superhero or something, and then on the back it says, my name's Justin Malueg. I'm a police officer, number of years of service, any special training, just stuff like that. So that when kids are out and about, they can be like, hey, I don't think I have that officer's card. I want to go meet him.
I want a signature. You want them to develop that relationship really early on to trust that these people are there to protect them and that they're public community service members.
Yep.
I think that's important. Growing up in Chicago, I knew the officers' names that were on duty every day. It was like clockwork. And it was the same officers. You felt that same level of protection every day, no matter who it was. So that's definitely a good goal to get back to.
Yep. And that's why, that's why it's number, that's number 2. I put it in quotes because it's technically interchangeable as number 1, but
right.
Those are my top two. Those are my top 2, on day 1 type of situation,
year one. I don't expect you're Donald Trump. You can't take it all and take care of it all on the first day.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, okay. I'll be a little more realistic. Okay, within the first week, there'll be an email that gets sent out that says, "Hey, here's some ideas I have for the community," or something.
Right.
Something just to get a thread going between fellow employees to be like, hey.
I like what you're doing with the Officer Justin page. I think starting dialogue with the public relations in that capacity, if you ask a question, they're able to just direct it right to you, and give you your response and vice versa. I think that's very important rather than if I called and left a voicemail for my departments, whatever, who knows who's going to call me back. It's probably not even the person I called. It's whoever they delegate it to, and they have no idea what's happening.
And guess what, brother? Guess what? I've had so many people message me or even call me, leave me voicemails saying that they did just that with the sheriff's office. I left a message for Sheriff Wills, or I left a message for, this captain or whatever. Never got a call back, or,
one ear and out the other.
Yep. Oh yeah, correct. Yep. It was, this person's calling to complain. I'm not putting up with this. No, people want to be heard. And guess what? Sometimes it's just them wanting to be heard. Let them voice their frustrations. Assure them that, hey, an officer is going to continue to follow up and take care of the issue. And actually see through that happens. Don't just give people false promises, but see through that happens. And guess what? I mean, that's half of it right there.
Yeah, a little bit of due diligence goes so far.
Yep, that literally is half of it right there, is to just be responsive to people, listen to people, and actually do something about their concerns instead of just, yep, okay, yeah, we'll have an officer look into it, or call back after shift change,
See, there's nothing less personal than reaching an automated recording or voice message or voicemail box, versus reaching out to somebody and then picking up the phone and you got a human, soft voice on the other end of the line, someone that actually cares, someone that can understand to care at least. That's important.
Yeah, 110%, man. There's a little, again, not to
go for it, man.
This side row, but there's a instructor of mine that I admire a lot. He's our DRE, which stands for Drug Recognition Expert Program Director. He's our facilitator, I guess, if you will, for the state of Wisconsin. And he has a 24-hour rule. So when he gets an email or a message or what have you, within 24 hours, even if it's not an answer or a thorough answer, he's responding back to you within 24 hours.
Acknowledgement that he received it.
My God, I've sent multiple emails throughout the last 7 years that I've been a DRE in Wisconsin, and every single time it's well within 24 hours. And man, it does something to people. You know what I mean? Like, makes them feel like, hey, like what I have to say right now or what my concern actually matters to the sheriff. And that's exactly who I want to be. I want to, even if it's, like I said, somebody wants to get something off their chest, they're upset about something, and they just want to be heard, let her rip, man. You know what I mean? Like, we're put in a position of power to be a cheerleader in a way for not only our department but for our community. So somebody's going through a hard time, they want to vent about something, or they're going through trauma or struggles or whatever, you're in that position of power to do something about it. So freaking do something about it.
Advocate some positivity in their life,
Advocate, recommend resources. Hey, there's a nice lady over here in CAP Services that'll help you. Hey, there's someone over here at the courthouse that'll help guide you to, whatever issue that you're looking at. Don't just say, oh, not my problem, see you later type of thing, because that's exactly what the public's getting right now.
Right.
I get it, messages all the time, multiple times a day sometimes saying, hey, I tried to call and ask this question, and the chief was just a dick to me. That was the one actually I got yesterday. The chief was a dick. And I'm like, why do people should dislike the answer they got? They shouldn't dislike the messenger.
Right.
And that's the problem with today's leadership is it's on how your demeanor is, your emotional intelligence, how you treat people, how you sound, the tone of your voice, all those things. That's why these administrators are getting complaints on them. Right. They're not complaining about the answers that they're getting. They're getting complaints about the messenger themselves. That's because that's how they treat people.
Right. All right, folks. We're going to take a quick break here for a moment. Please enjoy this video about my sponsor. Building a brand or a business takes time and focus. As an entrepreneur or business owner, there comes a point where trying to manage every detail on your own can slow things down. What the Snark helps take some of that off your plate. They provide custom branding, business apparel, drinkware, and precision decals for vehicles, equipment, storefronts, and even custom home goods. A one-stop shop for all your custom gift needs. Located on Main Street in Wild Rose, What the Snark offers custom solutions designed and supported a clear and professional presentation. Visit their shop or reach out to learn more. And we're in such a society today where it's cold everywhere else. We're blessed that we live in small communities, these small rural communities that we live in. Yes, they're growing. They're no longer just villages. Now they're cities. They're becoming municipalities, and whatnot. But we're very blessed that we still have the opportunity to make change within. We can heal within. We can come united together and work on our problems together. We don't need big government to come in always and shake things up. We're still small enough to where we can fix a lot of this stuff just by working together. So, you're in the right position to try to make a difference. So, that's awesome, man.
I can't help but nod the entire time you're talking because it's all truth, man. Keep preaching it because that's exactly right. And I know we'll get into it in a little bit about the immigration stuff that's going on, but that kind of is the same thing. That's another reason why I'm running as independent is because I want to be that person to bring everybody together and
right.
Know that, you have a voice here at the sheriff's, the top of the sheriff's office, from the top, on down type of thing, regardless on what your political beliefs and everything are. You know what I mean? Like right now, I feel like sheriff's Republican, so now there's just that automatic distrust between, the people who believe in the immigration policies and the people who don't. There's such a big distrust there because the sheriff's Republican. Why is that? Right. If you truly had someone that was serving the people, it was elected for the people, as a sheriff for everybody, you won't have to worry about that BS because, and nor would you have that problem because you'd be there for everybody.
I agree 100%, man.
I digress.
and it's a touchy subject, but it's critical because you have to be able to have those conversations with people. And red or blue, we're not dealing with government stuff here. We're dealing with small local enforcements and policies. And a lot of times it can directly impact every community member, not just one type, whether they're Hispanic or of Asian descent or Caucasian. It's one size fits all policy for everybody. So we need to make sure that we're all on the same page. As far as immigration goes, we can touch base on that subject. We don't have to kick that can down the road.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this real quick. Is Lady Justice blind? Because she should be.
Right.
But how come you see all these different, even like locally, you see all these different cases where one victim gets treated like royalty, but then the next victim gets treated like absolute shit. Pardon my language, but that's true.
It's true.
And
it is true.
I'm learning that by just talking to people and letting them tell me their stories, and and I go and open record stuff, and that's that's truly happening, and it shouldn't matter, and that's why my slogan, people over politics, that's where that whole thing comes from. People, the critics always make comments about how can you be people over politics when you didn't do this or you didn't say this about that person? It has nothing. It has to do with that, obviously, because I care about that, but that's not where it came from. It was created because I wanted to run as someone who was for everyone, and whether you agree with the right, the left, center, whatever policies are going on in big time politics, regardless of that, you can come to me, your sheriff, and ask questions or voice concerns, and you don't have to worry about being blacklisted for it.
That's so important. That's so important. No, I mean, now in a time more than ever, because I mean, you just need someone that you can trust and someone you can confide in. And when it comes to like political stuff, I mean, it's in one ear and out the other for most people anyways these days. They're brainwashed. They see too much stuff online. You know, that's why I like the podcast, because this is from the horse's mouth directly. There's no, I mean, yeah, we might edit it just to kind of shorten down the time and remove the uhs and the pauses. I mean, these are your words. This isn't scripted. It's not like someone's telling us what to say. You know, there's no big corporation above either of us telling us what views and standpoints we can discuss or stand behind and what we can't be behind. You're 100% able to do whatever you feel is right for everyone around you, just as I am. So I'm using this platform for the same reason, man. This is
that's why
this is for the people. Red, blue, whatever, man. This is for the people. So that's
why we clicked, man. And when I first saw your, when you started this, I think you said you were influenced by
Charlie Kirk.
Charlie Kirk. Yep.
Yes, sir.
When I first heard that and saw that, I'm like, oh man, we are gonna gel, because like you voice. You know, there's things in my mind that I just can't get into the proper words, and you put it in the proper words, so it's like it's a good dialogue back and forth type of thing. But I suppose I should probably talk about number 3, because I kind of got off on a tangent there. But there's so many different things, you know, that I have on my list of things I want to do where it could easily fall as number 3. I would have to probably say fiscal responsibility. Reason being is because of all, and this goal is not just the sheriff's office, countywide. I don't know if you saw the news story recently, but we were $4 million in the hole when they were trying to, county was trying to get their budget figured out for 2026, and they weren't in a deficit of $4 million, but they needed to make $4 million in cuts. However, which way you describe it, or however you shave it, you got to cut $4 million. So in my opinion, you're $4 million in the hole. But anyways,
same difference.
Same 100%. Difference, just and yep. So anyways, with that whole thing happening, and then seeing like just little things from being on the inside, and seeing how different departments work things, and how certain things are paid for versus other things aren't paid for. Purchases.
That's a big one.
Oh yeah, huge one. Training, overtime, the overtime budget. There were times that when I got called in to work an overtime shift, or I was working an overtime shift, there were times where I technically didn't even need to be there. I'm getting paid whatever it was, $40-some, almost $50 an hour. I didn't need to. That shift didn't need to be covered. It was almost like it was pick and choose. Like, hey, like this week we can run the whole county of Waupaca on just 3 deputies, but then the next night we can do it with 4 deputies. It was just all over the place. It was like pick and choose type thing. But particular, and I covered this on my page, but one of the things in particular is squad cars.
I've seen that.
The administrators, that don't need a squad car to do their line of work, their job duties, or their job description, they don't need a squad car. So, example, jail captain, dispatch captain. Jail captain, he was the one that was involved in the lawsuit stuff with my mother-in-law, who I said used to work in the jail. So he shouldn't be there to begin with. And then the communications captain, she's wonderful. She's a Wills supporter, publicly supports Wills, but she's amazing. She totally deserves to be in the spot that she's in. She's worked hard to get there, so on and so forth. But regardless, why, if you're in the dispatch center, why do you need a squad car? And then I open record it on top of it, and the squad car was like, almost $40,000. There was one that was like $50-some thousand for the squad car. Here,
it's ridiculous.
Ready, dude? Ready for this? This is what's going to happen. Day 1, Sheriff Malueg. Ready? When I get sworn in January of 2027, I will go over to County Highway. I will grab whichever spare squad, because there's like 15 of them over there that they keep up just in case they need them. I will go over there. I will pick the best one. I'll get a working computer, working equipment in it, and that will be my squad car. I don't even have to say you have my word on it. I've been saying that for years. Why does a sheriff who goes to and fro the sheriff's from home to the sheriff's office and then from the sheriff's office back home, why does he need a $1,000 squad car? Why does the jail captain who never leaves the jail, why does he need a $1,000 squad car? So it's insane. And then you got, cuts being made to such important resources within the county. A couple of years ago, CAP Services, huge advocacy for victims of domestic violence, suicide, stuff like that. They got cut. Positions got cut. They have to somehow find the money to be able to provide those services because there's no money. But yet $150,000 and 3 squad cars are sitting out front of the sheriff's office. I don't care who you vote for. I don't care if you vote for me. I don't care if by saying this I lose votes. That's ridiculous, and it's not going to happen. That's going to change. That money, that $150,000 can get allocated somewhere else.
Back into the community somehow, or to resource.
Yep, some way, somehow. They were able to move money around this last session because of the $4 million deficit. I think they can move money around for that. I mean, and that's just one example, man. I mean, I could tell you other examples. We tried out wireless. This I haven't really talked about, but we tried out wireless lapel mics for our radios.
Okay. Yep.
So instead of having the wire coming down to our portable radio, it was just wireless.
They're terrible.
They sold it to us in the beginning that they're supposed to be able to connect to like the actual squad car itself in case you're outside your car and you lose signal or something. It can connect. I don't remember. All I know is they're pieces of junk. Everybody hated them. They took forever to connect, so it was an officer safety issue. If you were in a foot pursuit or something, you're getting out of your car and you turn your radio on, it took forever for them to connect. I never asked. I didn't open record it, but I can only imagine how much money that costed the department to switch from perfectly good lapel mics that every other department in Northeast Wisconsin uses, other than State Patrol. Works just fine. It's worked for the last however many decades, and now we switched to these fancy looking new wireless mics that everybody hated. That's that type of stuff. Say that was $75,000 or $100,000. I mean, put that towards something else, man. Like,
especially if it's not working right, it's like,
and
nothing was wrong with the previous equipment other than
right.
it was tied to you. So it was like, I get that, but
right, exactly. I mean,
are you talking about the Motorola Solutions like radio handset, or which one?
Yeah, yep. Where the cord comes behind you and then the little portable mic's up here. Yep.
I used to work as a contractor for Motorola Solutions back in the day.
At
a call center, so I'm familiar with Uniden. I'm familiar with like the CB scanners, ham radios. I went to technical college, so I have a certification in. I'm not an FCC nerd, but I know a lot of stuff about electronics, man.
That's awesome.
Remote surveillance systems, man. Like kind of a wizard in a sense. I don't want to say too much, but yeah. Yeah,
that's awesome, man. Well, good. Then you got a good understanding when some of the stuff I'm kind of talking about, where I'm like, okay, like just the wired one is perfectly fine. It's it's a lot more reliable and whatnot. But yeah, so I mean that's another thing. And where I was going with that is include your team. Like, I don't understand. You say, when I talked about vulnerability being huge to your fellow people that you're leading, how about including them in big decisions? Like, right. Hey, we're going to make a big purchase here. I want all of your input on this. Here, try this out and tell me what you think. Try this radio out, this radio mic out for a week and let me know what you think. They don't do any of that stuff. It's right. It's I'm making the decision because I tried it out, or I decided that we're going to go with it and do as I say type of thing. And I mean, that just hurts. That hurts so many people because now you got something that's junk and is causing officer safety issues out in the field because you didn't do your due diligence.
If they have to call for backup right away, or someone has a weapon, it's like that lack of communication. That few seconds could be the difference between someone's life or another person getting injured, in the crossfire or something.
For sure. Example, the Gonzalez fatal that I present on with the 4 kids that got killed on the wrong way driving crash. You can actually hear me on my body cam when I get on my squad. You hear me on my body cam get on the radio to give dispatch an update And I think you hear me go, oh shit, or something like that. Or I remember swearing, but I realized, oh shoot, it didn't connect yet. Like I turned my radio on, but the wireless Bluetooth
Didn't pair yet, didn't synchronize.
It didn't pair yet. So I'm like, oh shit, they can't even hear dispatch can't even hear what I'm saying. So I get on the radio and do it again. It's just little things like that. Like
that takes your mind off of focusing on the situation at hand, and things can transgress in a millisecond. Like, things could really shift so quickly in your line of work. Can't be dealing with faulty equipment. Definitely feel like the most tech savviest, representatives from your company or organization department should have been able to get hands-on with that technology before the purchase was made, like a trial period. If it's going to cost $100,000, let me try it for 90 days first.
Exactly. And I think we did actually have one office, like they picked one deputy to try it. Well, of course you pick a member of a good old boys club, and of course they're going to say, yes sir, this is great, let's buy it, type of thing, instead of actually asking somebody who's going to tell you, where the bear shits in the woods, per se. But sorry for the analogy.
No, you're good.
But yeah, I mean, and even State Patrol at the time, not to keep going on this, but State Patrol at the time even said, because they were the only ones that had them, and they even said they sucked. So I don't know.
They know better.
Yeah.
My point is, though, is out of those 3 top priorities for your first year, I can see how passionate you got about it. So I know that you have so much more that you want to change, but, those are very good things to be passionate about, like you said, first changing the morale and, everybody feeling united internally. Then number 2, making sure that you guys are there for your community, whether it's getting out there with the businesses or reaching out to like those, extra programs that need those advocates, like you said, suicide prevention, drug rehabilitation with capsule services. I'm a big fan of those guys. I think that they need all the help they can get. So I think that, you really nailed that. And then with that third one, with making sure that you're fiscally responsible with the budget and stuff like that, that's critical. Because if you don't have your house in order and you don't have your finances in order, you're not going to be able to help people around your sheriff's department, right? So I think those are excellent first 3 answers to the questions that I had for you there, man.
Perfect. Thank you.
As far as, I had another question as far as public safety challenges, like what are the biggest ones in Waupaca? And I mean, it kind of sounded like that was a little bit of it right there, just making sure that all of the finances and stuff are in order so that you guys can make the differences that you're making on a daily basis. So if you wanted to work on some of that ICE conversation, we can slowly gravitate towards that. It's a hot topic right now, man.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
A lot of people are talking about it. Minnesota was in an uproar over the past few weeks. A lot of heated stuff on social media.
Well, I will start with this because I'm actually doing a live town hall tonight on Facebook at 6 o'clock, talking about, I'm going to start off by talking about the issues with ICE and immigration, stuff like that, because like you said, it is a hot topic, and I've been invited to meetings. I already attended one meeting in New London with a lot of people that had concerns and stuff. I will say this, no matter what happens between the Trump administration, ICE, just the immigration situation in general, everybody will be treated the same. Everybody will be treated the way that they would want to be treated in my county under my leadership. So even if we have to partner with a certain law enforcement agency, we have to detain somebody, take somebody to custody, whatever ends up happening, ultimately, the person will always be treated with love and respect. And I think that goes a long way, because one thing that's creating such fear, I think, in our communities and in our country right now is the false narrative that ICE agents and law enforcement are just out to kill these people or out to cause harm.
Violate them and,
violate their rights.
Them.
No due process, use of force complaints, stuff like that. So I think if we truly boil it down and have a good understanding of like, hey, no matter what, whether you're documented or not, you're still going to be treated with the absolute, same amount of respect as everyone else. Your due process rights are going to be treated the same. You're going to have your day in court just like anybody else. I'm saying, like, if they got in trouble or got arrested or whatever. I honestly think that's the foundation of the fear and the chaos right now. Yes. Are there issues with tactics? Are there issues with, and I'm not an instructor in any of this type of stuff, but I've been obviously trained in it. Yes, there's definitely issues with the tactics. I have a best friend from high school who is Democrat, and we go, and like I said, I'm independent, but I lean right. So we have these constructive conversations all the time, and tactics is a big one that comes up. And I agree with her. I agree with people when they say that there's issues with tactics. But just like anything else, just because the country viewed or spotlighted the Minneapolis incident, or now 2 of them incidents, that doesn't mean every single ICE officer is using questionable tactics or questionable use of force or whatever these people, whatever your opinion is on ICE. That doesn't make everybody a bad person that's out to kill people. Whether those 2 incidences will ultimately be justified or not, I could probably guarantee you that 99% of ICE agents, just like rest of law enforcement, they don't want to go out and hurt and kill people. They hope that they can just do their job without having to use any type of use of force. Their entire
without
shift.
incident, take someone into custody without incident, and they go home to their families at the end of the night.
Yep.
I think that the media has definitely portrayed a really negative narrative as far as immigration enforcement. Now, I want to say that being the son of an immigrant, my dad came here illegally, right? I'm half Mexican. I've been to Mexico handfuls of times, so I've been kind of waiting to say this. I'm for immigration policy. Growing up in Chicago was a tough upbringing. I think that with what we see online versus what actually transgresses in that situation are 2 different things. It's really easy to slow things down and review what happened millisecond by millisecond after the fact. Tactics could have been changed. Yes, agreed 100%. But situational awareness and a moment's decision is another animal that these people in the public eye don't understand. When you have seconds to react, you don't get the time to second guess things. It's them or me. You know what I'm saying? So it sucks that those, and I want to call those are tragic losses of life. No matter how they transpired, those were tragic losses of life, and they never should have happened. And I look at it in a sense of the media aspect. They not promoted that violence in that narrative manner that they did. I think a lot of people may not have been out in the streets protesting. They might have been at home safe with their families and not in harm's way. Because if I'm on the streets and I see something happening between law enforcement officers or ICE agents or anyone, growing up in Chicago even, if I see enforcement happening from police officers, I'm not going to intervene. I don't care if the person's yelling on the ground, help me, help me. You don't interfere with that. It's not your role. So these people getting face to face with immigration officers and yelling and blowing whistles and carrying firearms, you're advocating for chaos. You're not advocating for justice and for peace and love. If you have love in your heart, there's no room for hate.
Exactly.
Hateful people, loving people are not out in the streets yelling hateful things, man. And that's just something that's really divided us. And I'll say this again, united we stand, divided we fall, man. This is a united nation. We came here together. We unified this together with our forefathers. They implemented things to make sure that we wouldn't lose our freedoms, and immigration enforcement is just that. They're enforcing policies so that way we still maintain our freedoms. If you remove those laws and regulations and just open the borders, you don't have a nation anymore, man. You don't have a country.
Magnificently put, man, because that's exactly right. And one thing that stands out with what you just said is how the media portrays it. I think that's a big thing, because I don't blame people for wanting to go out and advocate change. And I mean, I'm doing that right now as we speak. I'm doing
same.
I do it on I do it on my social media, on Facebook and whatnot, what have you. So I'm huge for that. If you think something's wrong and it needs change, then go out and advocate for it. Use your First Amendment right to go out and protest and try to push for that change. But now here comes the part that, like what you said with the media, I think when you start putting a fear and you start, you only put half facts out there, you're not actually, explaining like the whole process and how ICE actually operates. I think that's what's causing the fear, and that's what's causing, local people to reach out and be like, hey, Justin, can you, tell me, is ICE going to be in Waupaca next weekend? Or, have you heard anything about them being in New London? I mean, I get questions all the time. And like I said, I was at a meeting in Forward New London. They invited me to speak at their group, and so many people that were heartfelt concerned, like legit, right, like tears almost, concerned about what is happening. And I can't help but to have empathy there, because they are concerned, right? So you got the concern, you have the emotion that's involved in it, and now you're wanting to push for change. It's no different than anything that I'm doing, you're doing, anybody in politics does. It's the other things that are like the manufactured, or like the half truths, like not identify, the masked men that are coming to arrest you, and they have no identification. They don't have, anything that shows that they're ICE, all that type of stuff. That's all fake.
Right.
100% fake.
Nobody's walking around in government vehicles wearing, government looking like in uniforms and bulletproof vests and collectively working together to apprehend somebody. And it's just like a cartel agency or something. You know what I'm saying? That's not happening here.
Yes, exactly.
They're
And
not getting
they all have
kidnapped.
identification. Yeah, they all have identification. They all have, and when I say identification, I mean like they have their ID on them. They have a badge. They have the symbols that say ICE or police or something that identifies them as law enforcement. The government vehicles, I guarantee you, they either have government plates on them,
Star
or
or something.
Yeah,
Something.
something that. Regardless, it's not happening like that. And I want people to know, like, it's not, first of all, it's not actually happening like that. If there's examples out there, the far and few in between ones that are where it is happening like that out there, okay, I believe you, but that's not happening everywhere. Number one. Number two, in my county, it won't happen, period. You're going to be, like I said from the beginning, you're going to be treated with respect. If you have questions if you want to question the arrest or question the officer who's arresting you, hey, here's my name,
officer.
here's my badge. Yep, most deputies do that now. The way that it is, if people say, hey, I want your badge number, here's my badge number, this is my name, you want my business card, here's my business card. Most cops will do that. Will already do that now, but you're seeing the worst of the worst. You're seeing the ones that are not doing that. So then everybody thinks, and the media portrays it as all the ICE agents are being assholes like that. You know what I mean? So I think it's just bringing it down with factual information and calm level-headedness, and saying, hey, this isn't happening right now in our neighborhoods. Okay. The shows that there's no intent of this, that it's going to pick up or it's going to happen in our neighborhoods. And even if it does, it's not the Gestapo or however they explain it, where it's.
I was hoping you were going to say that, because they're comparing them to Nazis at this point,
Yeah, not the Nazis, and coming in with strict intentions to kill people. That's not how it's happening. If there's anything to your viewers out there, if there's anybody or anything that that questions that, or you have examples or anything that shows otherwise, I would be more than happy to have a discussion with you about it. But it's just, they're trained law enforcement officers.
Feel free to tune in to your 6 p.m. Facebook Live at the town hall, right?
Yeah, exactly. And actually, speaking of which, the one point or the one question I get asked a lot is the agreement that most county sheriffs signed, the 287G, I believe is what it's called, which is the agreement that the departments entered in, or the department heads, the sheriff, enters in with ICE, pretty much agreeing to cooperate with future investigations of individuals that are detained in their facilities. What that means, that doesn't mean that it says we're trying to reconnect. Am I still there?
Yeah, you're here. We had a little bit of a lag spike. Can you still hear me? Yeah, I'm here.
Okay,
Can you hear me?
You're good. Yep. Now it's back.
We had a little bit of a lag spike.
Okay. But yeah, so what people think that means is that we, as in the sheriff, is agreeing to go out into the community, churches, schools, this is where vulnerable people gather, stuff like that, and detain and arrest these people. That's not what that agreement means. The agreement simply means that if you committed a crime and you're in our jail, say for example OWI, drinking and driving, you get arrested, you're in our jail, and you have a crime or some kind of a criminal history or something where you're not in the country legally, you're undocumented, they would put a detainer on that person. Violent history, anything that's outside the scope of just being a basic, hey, I'm coming to this country to try to make money, better myself.
A speeding ticket's one thing, might not get you in trouble.
Exactly. So OWI, and let's just use this example. You get stopped and arrested for OWI, you're in a Waupaca County jail for an OWI offense. You have a history of domestic violence in another state, or maybe just domestic violence in general, and ICE puts a detainer on
Prior
that said
violence of any
individual,
kind.
which means once due process has been, once you get your hearing in Waupaca and you get your bond, and say for example, it's a signature bond and they're set to be released for the OW, that detainer means now ICE gets to come in and book them at the jail and take them into their custody.
So
what I was saying, I was just summarizing that's what the 2G had agreement that most counties enter into. That's what that means. It's just simply saying that if they have cause to want that person held for so they can get picked up and taken through their due process to be taken back to their home country.
If that's what it comes down to.
Yep. And they get due process. I've looked into this through a couple different websites, and including ICE's website somewhere in there, because it was like one of the big question and answer type things. And of course,
it's a big one.
Rightfully so. It's a question that gets asked a lot: is do they actually get due process? And the answer was something along the lines of yes, because they first go back to Chicago, and then that's in Chicago is where the federal court is where they get to have their side heard.
Is that Cook County?
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
I know Cook County was a rough one.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Maybe it's Bridgeview. Bridgeview's a really big one. It's a huge courthouse in Chicago.
It was a really short answer. Like, they didn't go into much detail, but they ultimately said that they get due process. So, I mean, unless that's ultimately not happening, it gives us no reason to not believe that they're not getting due process. But regardless, they get their day in court in Chicago, and then that's when they could ask to be extradited back to their home country. But regardless, I was
going to say, just to kind of break it down for people, as far as for the ones that I can dumb it down for people that might not understand it. Basically, if you're an illegal in this country, or you came here and you don't have your citizenship has expired, or whatever the circumstantial situation may be, if you do not have a violent crime, it's not like immigration enforcement are going to show up at your house, knocking on your door, and ask you to provide proof of citizenship. That is not going to happen. What will happen is, if you are here and you do not have authorization to be here, if you do have prior history of violent or criminal behavior that is under a certain guidelines that they're looking for, you're going to be held on some sort of a legal aspect for ICE to come in and to investigate. That doesn't mean you're getting deported necessarily, but if it comes down to the facts that you are not here correctly and that is what has to happen, then sure, that is what's going to happen. But any country you go to, this is policy. This is standard operations. This is the last, presidential candidacy before this. I think it was like, I don't know how many thousands, like 900,000 immigrants were deported. I mean, we're not even at 150K and people are rioting on the streets over it. We're not even a fraction of what the last president's campaign did. I mean, people don't need to freak out so much about it. They're not coming boots down, door to door. They're just making an agreement with local law enforcement. If somebody is incarcerated, they have to hold that person in order for immigration to come and speak with them. Doesn't mean they're going away. Doesn't mean that anything bad's going to happen. That's just the process of what needs to happen.
Yep. And I just want to add to that, because that was very well put. I just want to add to that. That's been happening through previous administrations. I mean, it's no different than Secret Service, FBI, whoever they want a detainer. It's called a detainer. That just pretty much it's a hold in the jail system and their electronic database that
person
says,
of interest. Yep.
Don't release this person. They are wanted for questioning by ICE or FBI or whatever. So it's called a detainer. So there's a warrant. A warrant for your arrest, and then there's a detainer where they get detained until this other agency can come and pick them up. It's no different than a detainer for, like I said, FBI in Wisconsin. There's Department of Criminal Investigations, DCI. If there's something else going on, whether you're from a different country or not, whether you could be just from the U.S., you could be a legal documented citizen,
sovereign citizen, or whatever.
Yep, what have you, and you can have a detainer put on you by all these different agencies. ATF, FBI, Wisconsin, DCI, Secret Service. I mean, Homeland Security. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. So
it all depends if you're a person of interest in their current enforcement campaign. Exactly. You check the box. Yep. You put yourself in there. you made the decision to make a poor choice that led to an outcome. This is the bottom factor. I mean,
exactly.
It kind of is what it is, man.
Yep, correct. And I will say this, it's ultimate policy from, the president on down. That's where you have to take up your concerns with. You can't do it the way that they're doing it out in the streets with the yelling and the screaming and the fighting and taking it on law enforcement who, just like you said, just want to go home to their families and they just want to do their job and go home, get their paycheck and go home. Most of these cops aren't doing it for the fame and to try to make a name for themselves. They're just doing it because they feel like they're doing their country a service. You know what I mean?
Which they are. I mean, if you're a violent criminal, you don't belong out on the streets. Doesn't matter if it's my streets, the neighboring streets. You don't belong out there.
So bottom line is, take it up with your politics. With the Trump administration when the voting time comes. Don't take it out on the little guy. Don't take it out on the ones in between, and don't take it out on the little guy, which is ultimately
it's not a local thing, man. It's so much above you guys.
Correct.
And like you said, you're going to handle every situation with love and professionalism and care.
Exactly.
No matter what country they're from, whether it's innocent or guilty, you're going to treat them with due process and due diligence all the way through. So.
Absolutely. That's kind of how I was going to summarize that, was with the second thing I was going to say is, regardless, I can't speak for other counties or states or other cities and stuff, but in Waupaca County, if and when I become elected, because this is still going to be a hot topic, obviously, for the next probably 3 years, that's exactly what you can expect from my administration in Waupaca County. And I just want to add this. So when I went to this meeting in New London, their group's called Forward New London, they asked if there was any way that we could be a advocate for undocumented immigrants. Say, for example, they get pulled over for speeding, they don't have a license or they don't have an ID because they're undocumented. Here's a business card. Contact this resource through the county or through immigration or wherever, what have you, and they will help you start the process of legal immigration. And I said, yeah. I said, absolutely. They brought that idea up, and I said, absolutely. I said, why wouldn't you want to try to do something like that? You know what I mean?
If you want to stay here forever, then you might want to start with the process at the beginning. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
You can't just jump the line and then expect to get to the same destination.
And
there's a certain way we do things.
Yep, and there's so many people that are in that line that are trying to do it the proper way, and they are pissed because they feel like they're trying to follow the rules and do everything legally and jump through all the hoops. But yet then, you got people rioting in the streets for the ones that skip and jump the line. You know what I mean? So I'm all for that. Anything to help guide potential future immigrants of our country, to guide them to the proper resources so they can get that process started. Oh, I'm all for that. And another big question, real quick, that was brought up in that meeting was, what kind of translation, interpreter services do we offer? Are they actually understanding what we're telling them when it comes to getting pulled over and getting cited, getting arrested, what have you? I will say this. I say we because Waupaca County uses Language Line is what we call it. I think that might be the official name of it, but it's a contracted service for us as law enforcement to call if we're on a traffic stop and there's a language barrier. We contact the Language Line, or we have dispatch contact the Language Line for us, and then put it through our phone.
That's awesome.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. I've used it for speed, and this is just another example of how you should care for people. I've done it on speeding tickets. Some cops will go up and issue the speeding ticket or issue whatever the warning, and
they don't care if you understand it or not.
Read it in English.
They did their job.
I did my job. I made an attempt. I put it in the report. I made an attempt. I read it to them in English. They didn't look like they understood. And then they gave them the ticket.
Yeah, they have no idea.
They have no idea. So now their license is going to get suspended, or a potential license, if they become a citizen, would be suspended because now they have an unpaid ticket. They didn't understand how to take care of the ticket. In my opinion, that's laziness and that's lack of caring for people. So I told them, I said, at this meeting, I said, my response to that would be regardless if it's someone with a language barrier, speaks a different language other than English, unless the officer knows it, of course, contact the Language Line. That's why we pay a contract with them.
Right. Absolutely.
And go through the Language Line. Or There's some departments where if they have a deputy that's working that speaks different languages, hey, can you stop over on my stop and explain this to them? And, then they get to have it explained to them in person type of thing. Absolutely. I'm all 100% for that. And dude, I honestly think that is the big concern. These little concerns like that, these little issues are what kind of adds up and just builds up. And that's why we're seeing such craziness today. Is because
and maybe after this podcast, I can have you drop some sort of a link or some info in the chat of it, so that way, in the comments, so that way people can utilize that resource to. That's one thing I want to get better at with these episodes is every time I have a new guest, maybe have some sort of a resource that people can reach out to so they can either follow up with that person or into that situation that we discussed or that business or whatever it is. I think resources are important. Departmental resources, like calling someone to translate. If you're not using that resource, you're wasting that resource, right? Because you have a foreign nationalist or someone that can't communicate and they most likely have no idea what it is that you're saying because you have no idea what they're saying. If you're not utilizing that resource, you're wasting that resource.
Yep, 100%. And another thing I see, and this is inside information, if I catch hell for this, well then too bad, I guess, because it just goes along with exposing all the bullshit that's going on in this county. But one thing that happens a lot is they'll get pulled, immigrant that speaks different language barrier, will get pulled over and no attempt will be made whatsoever for the ticket. They'll actually tell the person like, hey, like, you're not allowed to drive, you don't have a license, but hey, just like stay here until you get somebody that's valid to come and drive. What favor is that doing to anybody? They don't understand what you're saying.
Right.
So not only
as soon as you drive away, they're jumping in and they're driving away too.
Or a lot of times what I've seen is they'll drive away before you even get back to your squad car. You know what I mean?
Right, because they have no idea.
And don't get me wrong, I've been there, done that. There's been times where it's like, okay, there's absolutely no way. Like, I use language line. I've had a conversation. They're from Milwaukee. They don't have anybody in the area, to come and pick them up. Is it a useful? Is it a good use of resources to sit on this person and make sure that they don't drive? Until somebody gets up
them
here
basically.
Detaining them pretty much until somebody gets up here from Milwaukee to pick them up. Of course not, because there's other calls and other things that in Waupaca County that our people expect the officers to respond to. However, at least give it a shot. I mean, do your due diligence. And like I said, this is big picture stuff. I think this is why a lot of people are so frustrated and sick to their stomach with what they're seeing in the news and everything, is because they just want to see effort. They want to see people care. They want to see the cops care. They want to see their administrators, the sheriffs and the police chiefs care. And I think if more sheriffs did this, what you and me are doing, and what I'm about to do at 6:00 for my town hall, if more people did that, I guarantee you it would bring down that temperature. Guaranteed, 110%. You get the Minneapolis police chief and the Minneapolis mayor and everybody, even though they don't agree with each other on tactics and policy with ICE and everything, you get them in the same room and put them on national television and say, hey, we love people, we care about people, we don't want anybody to get hurt, we don't want anybody to get shot, we want them to be in our country and have a chance at becoming citizens. We're here for them. If the general public heard that, other than the paid agitators that would still burn buildings down just to do it, if people heard that, I guarantee it would bring that temperature way down. It would be night and day difference. But that's not happening.
It doesn't. It doesn't help that mayor's, Democratic, and he's really pushing this narrative of ICE being there for the wrong reasons and telling them that they don't belong there. It's like if you're a politician, whether you're red or blue, the country's legislative guidelines should be part of your oath. You're a public service member, whether you're a city councilman or the mayor, man. Your job is to make sure you're doing what's in the greater good of all your people, not just one type of community or one skin color. It's all of your people. So, 100%, man.
Both Trump's politics, Trump's everything else. That's 100% right. I don't care if that mayor was Republican. That's why I consider myself an independent. If the mayor was Republican, or if I hear about a Republican mayor or sheriff or whatever in this Wisconsin doing that type of stuff and instilling fear into people and trying to do the opposite of bring the temperature down and whatnot, I'll call it for what it is. I don't care if you're Republican.
Yeah, I see Evers doing that quite a bit.
It's not a Republican thing. It's not a Democrat thing. It shouldn't be, at least. Um,
Right.
and that's why I truly feel like I feel so relieved and so much more like complete, if you will, being an independent rather than Republican and Democrat, because there's so many things that shouldn't be party affiliated. So many things.
Right.
Caring and loving people, that shouldn't be affiliated red, blue, or independent.
Right.
You know what I mean? Taking care of your people.
I was going to say Sam Wood had made a mention in one of his episodes that, like, you know, when you're handling local issues, whether or not they voted, you know, Republican or Democrat and they're for abortion or against it, we're not dealing with those type of issues on a local level. We're trying to deal with situations that are happening here in our actual neighborhoods. So whether you're Republican or Democrat, irrelevant. It's your morals and your integrity values, you know, and your typically, if you're a family man, you have those, you know what I'm saying? So those are what you're looking for in a sheriff, you know, that you're looking for someone as in a mayor, someone that's going to help you run the community. You want people that have those values and that are in alignment with what's better for the greater good of everyone. So, yeah, man, I certainly wish you luck on this campaign run. This is pretty awesome. I mean, I just met you within the last year, but been following all of your stuff online. I see all the impacts you're trying to make. And I'm an advocate for the people. Again, I'm from Chicago, but I grew up in Waupaca area. I have family in Waupaca area. So Waupaca County is dear to me. And Waupaca is our neighboring county. Like brothers and sisters, we got to treat our neighbors the same. So, I mean, I wanted you to come on to my podcast to make sure that your message gets put out there, because you have an audience, I have an audience, just trying to mesh everything together. Let's take down these walls, right? Doesn't need to be segregation, digital segregation. We all want the greater good for all of our communities, man. We advocate it every day. People are putting their lives on the line every day to make sure that people are safe. So I'm really blessed that I had the opportunity to meet you and see all the progress that you made in the last year, man. You're making a difference every day, man. You know, it's a lot more than just smiling every day and just showing up. You know, your actions match your words. You know what I'm saying? You're out there in the streets. You're meeting with these other, what'd you say? It was like up in Shawano or one of these other areas where you're doing these meetings with other people and you're helping advocate to those community members. There's a lot of people afraid all over the place right now, man. We're in some really unique, dangerous times, and there's uncertainty, and that uncertainty, it instills fear. And like, how do you counter that? With love, with peace, right?
Exactly.
And the only way you can promote that is just genuine, man. Just do it. You know, Charlie Kirk was all about that, and that's the reason why I started this podcast, for the same type of reasons, man.
Yep.
Start the dialogue, start making a change. Something works, nothing doesn't, man. Got to do something. Got to start somewhere.
Absolutely love it, man. Like, I wish I had the proper words right now to describe that, because that is so true, and it's literally, you know, compassion towards others, love towards others, actually loving other people. You know, yeah, you can have bad days or whatnot, and you deal with some pretty, especially in law enforcement, you deal with some pretty crappy people sometimes. But overall, you still walk away from the job like wanting to help the next person and wanting to be there for the next person. Oh yeah, that's exactly what it's about, and that's exactly what people are desperately needing to turn to right now, especially with the climate of politics and the immigration,
online, social media,
and
everything, man. Everything is hot topics, super touchy. But when you have like-minded people with common core values, we can see through all the crap, right? The veil's been torn, man. I'm a religious person. I advocate for Jesus Christ. I'm a Christian. I've sinned. I've paid my dues. I'm still working on becoming a better Mariano. But every day, I'm going to try to put some sort of positivity out there. I'm going to try to impact somebody's life, whether it's just saying that one thing. They ask you a question and you just give them that one piece of feedback. Like you said, intentions, man. As long as your intentions are good, you just try to make that difference. That is something that you've done something, rather than just let someone dwell, or, you know, if you're put in a position to be a leader, lead, right? That was what you had said earlier.
Exactly. You're in a position of power. I've probably said it for sure through my whole campaign, but maybe even, I'm pretty sure I've actually said it to, like, when I've had people train with me, or, people in high school come and do ride-alongs and stuff with me, and I tell them the same thing. I'm like, you get to be in such a position of power being a police officer. Not even, me, I'm talking about becoming the sheriff. I'm just saying, being a police officer, you have so much power there. Use it for good, you know what I mean? just take
Absolutely.
advantage of that. I don't understand why you wouldn't want to take advantage of that and help help thy neighbor.
Right. Yeah. I usually, I don't know how I get it. I have like ADHD. So like, it's like I find the words to say and they come out in a chronological order. I know what to say, when to say. It's like an anointed conversation, man. We don't have to script this stuff, brother. It's just, it's all genuine intentions, man.
Exactly. I know that's what I love about this. I mean, you mentioned it earlier. Like I have no notes. No, I mean, nothing scripted. It's just, and this is this is really what people want to see, and what they need to hear is coming right from the heart, and coming, straight out onto the camera like this, because, scripted is, we talk about being genuine and stuff, and everything that's going on right now, especially just, I mean, you talk local stuff with Waupaca County and all the deception, all the lies, and everything going on. That's the last thing people want, is somebody that's
more of it.
Somebody that's going to be the martyr. More crap. The martyr that's going to come in and everything's scripted, and vote for me because of this, versus actually describing how you feel about people. It's such a big difference.
What I like also about the podcast aspect is, what you see on the news, like you had said, like some news companies, it's okay to talk to. Other news companies, it's like they're going to twist stuff. What I like about the podcast is that it's so authentic and so incorporated that there's no one pulling strings to say what we need to advocate for. We just both know that we want what's best for all the people around us, whether it's our brothers and sisters, our children, our moms and dads, our aunts and uncles. Everyone at the end of the day needs to come home safe, and we want everyone to be as happy and healthy as possible. So working together is how we're going to do that, whether that starts at an enforcement level, whether that starts in a community level, or even education. We didn't really touch too much on education, but, an educated community is a healthy community. So making sure that people are aware of what's happening, showing up to community meetings. A lot of these places are televising that stuff, or like it's on YouTube. So you can, if you can't make it to one of these meetings, stop online, visit their Facebook page or their website. There's a link somewhere, watch it, tune into your 6 p.m. Live immigration conversation at the town hall. There's so many different ways people can connect with individuals that are making stuff happen. So I'm just happy to be a part of this in any way, man. I'm just another person just trying to make a difference.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, please do your research. I tell people, and actually I just had a kind of a negative response from someone who had sent me an email stating that, well, since you told me to do my own research, I did, and something like, I'm not going to be voting for you. That's fine. I'm glad. Yeah, it was kind of blunt, and I'm okay with that. I am okay as long as you do your research and you look into everything and you follow the facts with a calm head, level mind. You leave the emotion out of it, leave the friendships and all the good old boy type mentality stuff out of it, and you look at the facts and you do your own research. That's all I ask. And if you determine that I'm not your candidate and I don't earn your vote, then I will completely respect that. But yeah, I mean, you said it best. I think it was off camera before we started this about how, the whole not having an agenda or being told, we're not being told by anybody like, hey, can you do this podcast so you can discuss, this part of immigration or discuss it. It's all organic, and I truly think that's what people really appreciate about us.
Yeah, that's the best way to give it to the community, man. Just raw, unapologetic, unfiltered, no agendas, just trying to make good intentions with our energy and our decisions. And it's a blessing to have like-minded people that are heading in the same direction. I might not be a sheriff. I might not ever be in some capacity in the community like that, but my voice still matters, right? Especially when my voice is in alignment with all the voices around me. And if we stand together and we all stand for the right principles, it's not a matter of like, this person's the next person that's right for the job, or it's in line for the job. We're going to select the person that's going to do the job best. We're going to put people in positions that truly care about everyone around them, because they will do what's best, all on the same we're all on the same page, and we're all trying to get to the next chapter together, man.
For sure.
So
And you know
let's
what's
keep
magical
rewriting
about
history.
that? Oh yeah, for sure, man. You know what's magical about that statement is it doesn't have to pertain to just law enforcement. I mean, like
Right.
mostly everything I talk about pertains, revolves around law enforcement because I'm running for sheriff. All of the stuff that we talk about, that's what's so magical about it. I always say it's leadership 101 because it doesn't have to be just leadership in law enforcement. That could be leadership in anything that you do in your life, whether it's at your job, at home with your kid, with your family, church, hobbies. I mean, anything. You're involved in clubs. You're a leader in your local Lions club or 4-H club or what have you. It doesn't matter. All these qualities and all these aspects of being a leader. That's not just law enforcement, man. That's everything. And I preach that when I do presentations at schools and stuff. And it all kind of just revolves and kind of comes right back to what we talked about earlier with, if you're going to be a shed salesman? If you're going to be a shed salesman, be the best damn shed salesman you can, or the McDonald's with the cheese or whatever.
Sam's fish fillet guy.
Fish fillet. It all literally just comes right back perfectly, full circle to that concept. Doesn't have to be just strictly to law enforcement. I mean, that's in everything you do in your life. And that's why I tell those kids, I'm like, no matter what you decide to do, put your best foot forward, always do the right thing. Don't ever lie. Don't ever cover for people. Be the unpopular one and call out wrong when wrong needs to be called out. That's just, I don't know, man. That's just how I was raised. And that's how I feel like that's how everybody just should be. But unfortunately, we're lacking that in today's leadership, specifically in Waupaca County leadership.
We had just made that mention off camera before we started the podcast about sometimes doing the right thing is going to feel uncomfortable. Sometimes standing up and saying something when you're standing around all these people that, might not align with what you think, but it is the right thing. It's going to feel uncomfortable. But growth is greater than comfort. What was the one that you said earlier? You said something was greater than, I forget what it was. Earlier you had said something similar to that.
I said something similar. I have the livelihood comment stuck in my head right now.
Right. But yeah, no, it's just, and realistically, it just comes down to just making the difference. Like you said, it doesn't have to be just in law enforcement. Whether you're a paramedic or you're emergency first responders, it's another aspect of your community and serving your community and protecting is, it's not just one organization. There's departments that all need to work together. And sometimes when you got a couple bad apples in one department, it can certainly affect how other people work and how communication works. There should be zero barriers between departments, or as minimal barriers as possible for the greater good of the community. So whether someone's in distress, car accident, fire, robbery, you name it, domestic, all aspects should, whether EMTs need to arrive on scene, everyone should feel like we're all on the same team and we're heading in the same direction. So,
Absolutely.
whether you're a citizen and you're just stopping, just to see if you can give a hand, everyone can play a role in your community and make a difference. It's just, you got to wake up and you got to have that positive mentality to try to make a difference,
Regardless of politics. That's kind of, send that point home because you nailed it.
Politics aside, man, care for people. Start there.
You nailed it, man. And that's one thing that I will always strive to do, that when I'm on a call or when my guys are on a call or, even like being a police officer, when I'm on a call, regardless on issues we got going on behind the scenes, whether it's between agencies or between each other, leadership at the department, whatever, what have you. Politics, all that stuff gets put on the back burner, and the priority is the community every single time, no matter what. And that's a big thing that's missing. Like I said before, the picking and choosing, the selecting on what gets most of your effort versus what gets put on the back burner, or like the phone call that you said where you get a voicemail and then nobody ever calls you back. Just stuff like that. No matter what's going on, no matter if we just got into a heated debate over something with policy or whatever, when the shit hits the fan, the going gets going, we're going to be there for each other. We're going to be there for the community. You can't say it any better than that.
It's the bottom line.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Justin, here we are at an hour and 43 minutes into this episode. I don't know exactly how long that is because I know we had a little bit of a disconnect in between there. So no worries. I'd have to do some editing in here, but I think we touched base on our point and we got it definitely across the table here. And I'm very grateful you took the time out of your busy week to jump on this episode this week. I feel like we really hit this one home. We touched base on your campaign. We talked about why it's so important to you. And why you want to make a difference in your community. So I think that's phenomenal. I think that was a great episode right there. I definitely want to have you back in the future. I want some updates. As we get closer to the voting process, I'd like to get you on here again and, talk about, trying to push people, to get out there. And if they want change, let's be about it and not just talk about it. Time's now, right?
Absolutely, man. I would be game for that. I would be game for doing a live segment. We could meet up and
that's in the works. That's in the works.
Yeah, awesome. We could do like a question and answer type thing with the general public. Or I'm game for anything.
Get them to forecast some questions.
Yeah, exactly. It was so refreshing, dude, to be able to be on here with you to share those like-minded ideas and experiences. I mean, like it feels like when I'm trailing off, you pick me up, and then vice versa. Like we're just kind of like flowing back and forth with each other. And
it helps because when you do the monologue by yourself, and you and Sam do this on almost a daily basis, it's just you talking and you're getting your messages across. But sometimes it's nice to get that dialogue because then it's like it gives a dynamic to these situations and questions that not everybody has off the top of their head. And then you might address that. You might nail 3 questions in one response. You know what I'm saying? So that's what's nice about the back and forth.
Exactly.
All right. Well, Justin,
that,
I'm gonna wrap this one up here. I got some editing to do, and I know you got another one here in a couple hours. So I'm gonna let you take off. I'm going to go ahead and get this finished up here. Again, thank you so much for coming on the show today. I appreciate you, man. Keep doing what you're doing out there in Waupaca and Waupaca. And I hope to see you out on the streets here pretty soon.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate that. And please stay in touch.
Absolutely, Justin. All right, everyone. Stay tuned. This one's going to be edited and out as soon as possible. I'll have this out before the end of the evening, so stay tuned. And this will be another great listen. So don't wait to watch it. Get into it right away. Take care.